Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode. This is episode number 112 today for the British Grand Prix in Season 7. If you guys did miss the previous episode, a tantalizing race at the Austrian Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. A shock winner, a last lap overtake for the win, late safety car drama, and of course, at the very start of the race, spoiler alert, we got some rather large sidepod damage that did affect our race, I feel, but we still battled through it, and in the end came up with a pretty decent result, I would say, if you take into account, obviously, we were trying that two-stop versus a very audacious one-stop, which in the end did work out for our race winner and second place, but, you know, for Gasly, our teammate, he actually got overtaken in the second last, corner by Verstappen on that two-stop, so what could have been? We could have been that one stealing the podium, stealing that third place, if it wasn't for the damage, because Verstappen, the man who did actually get Gasly at the end, was so much quicker in his Ford. But again, we were beaten by Pierre Gasly on the road, even though at one point in the race, I was much further ahead of him, looking quite good. But, you know, Gasly surprisingly tried that one stop, which was a surprise because as a team, I think the FOM MyTeam car chassis has generally had more tyre wear. So we've not really seen ever our teammate really try one of those long track position kind of strategies where other AI have. So I was surprised and taken back by that, and that does mean that Gasly leads the championship ahead of Verstappen, myself in third, Antonio Giovinazzi losing a bit of ground with P4 there in the standings because of that very quiet end to the race where he did have a car issue, to be fair to him, and had to recover a couple of points. Ultimately though, no matter how entertaining that race was, and I thought we actually did very well to get that P5, we still weren't anywhere near getting that race win, that elusive race win that we're still yet to have. Gasly with the back-to-back wins at Baku, Canada, Giovinazzi, Leclerc, you know, myself and Verstappen actually are the only two drivers here in the top 5 that have not had a race win. Even Russell there, obviously in the top 6, has added a race win to his tally, so it's still time to come for myself and Verstappen, but I feel like, you know, for Verstappen, it's not maybe, you know, he's in that, you know, that Ford that used to be the Haas team that was such a back marker last year, so, you know, it's just a kind of riding the high of even being up here. But for me, this is kind of a little bit, you know, frustrating not to have at least one win so far in a car that is very much right there and has been competitive. But because the whole field's been competitive, it's just been very tough. And I just don't think a couple of things have gone our way also at the same time, to be honest. But that's no kind of, you know, time for, you know, bringing out the excuses. We just get on with it and we come to our home Grand Prix then at Silverstone. Now, to be fair, last season was Happy Hunting Ground for the first time ever in Season 6 on this game, and pretty much also previous F1 games, Silverstone wasn't a bogey circuit. We actually did very well last season to get a win in front of the home crowd. So, I don't know, I'm kind of hoping we can rub our hands together and pray a little bit that that home kind of GP energy can come back to us again for Season 7, but I'm not holding out because, as I said, historically, this has actually been a pretty horrible circuit for me in terms of trying to go for the win. You know, we've had DNFs, we've had just issues in the race, so let's just take it as it comes. But first and foremost, Q1 getting through the sessions there. Leclerc looking quick. Usual suspects though. Giovinazzi also right up there. Tsunoda high up with Drogovic as well in the Red Bull Honda. But Red Bull, I mean, what a shame for Drogovic that was. I mean, we could have been talking about glory for the man who won the Austrian Grand Prix in Season 6, winning it again in Season 7, because for so much of that race, Drogovic looked like he was going to be in control of that race win, and then that Honda engine of his went pop. So that's also maybe a worry. The Honda engine showing its first sign of a little bit of unreliability for one of the teams and cars it powers. Let's hope that nothing like that is going to come a crop for us or Gasly today. So now rounding the bend to finish out our first flyer in Q2. It's been, an okay lap, but a couple of mistakes there right at the end, especially hitting the curb, taking way too much sausage curb, and we're actually down in P13, so we have to go again, along with the likes of Felipe Drogovic, who tried to qualify on mediums for some reason, so it's another new set of soft tyres having to be used, so we only have one set then going into the top 10 shootout. If we do make it through into the top 10 shootout, and like like I just alluded to, this circuit historically has been the bogey one. So are we going to get knocked out here in the second part of qualifying and not make it even through into that last bar? It's going to be just about 2.5 tenths gained. That doesn't sound like a huge amount. That is actually purple in the last sector and gets us through and matching our teammate Pierre Gasly. You know, with how close things is, 2 tenths can make the difference. Drogovic did not even get a lap time in, it would seem. He tried just to stick it out on mediums, but failed spectacularly, so he is knocked out then. We got one Red Bull Honda in Dan Ticktum. George Russell made it through in the Aston Martin, building on that confidence I'm sure he's got now off that first race victory for his new team this season. Tsunoda, the McLaren in, Lando Norris just about knocked out, and both Porsches looking very strong. Very, very strong. And although last episode, I think that was the first time we've really seen Leclerc fighting back at the front ever since he got that first win for Porsche, they've been silently just very consistent, actually, and they are actually the nearest team challenging us in the Constructors, which obviously is still something we're aiming for, although all the kind of focus has been on the Drivers' Championship, this individual battle and kind of struggle we've been having versus Pierre Gasly in the races. The Constructors is still a massive part of this MyTeam career mode, and as a pairing, myself and Gasly have actually been very strong, scoring, you know, big points, both of us, as we push each other to do more. But Q3 then well underway. Doom and gloom skies here. Overcast, rain threatening to come on the way. And as we start our flying lap, Russell blocks us off a little bit through the village section, that left-hander. I mean, it wasn't much of a block, but I did have to hesitate in terms of really turning in the wick and getting the nose turned in. So maybe a tiny bit of time left on the table, and that may come back to bite us if it does indeed start to rain later, because the clouds are very much out as we cross the line. It's not a very impressive lap time, I don't think, as we now continue on with our in-lap. The rain is falling. We're only in P8 then, and as we go through Maggins and Beckett, Lance Stroll in the Porsche, I don't know what he's doing, but he comes in and hits us and breaks our front wing. We're both on an in-lap. We're both taking a slow in-lap to come back into the pit lane. I don't know why he's gone down the inside there. Yes, there's a little bit of room open, but we're not. Why are we racing for position in a qualifying session, let alone in laps? And so, I thoroughly hope he gets a penalty for that, because I don't know what the hell he was doing there, broken our front wing. But the rain is falling. You can see the droplets of rain now forming on the screen, and that means that no one else, including myself, will go out for another run because it's too wet. So that first lap, really quite poor, very slow, is our time today. So yeah, we're starting off the race weekend from the Saturday to Sunday on the back foot. Maybe the bogey nature of Silverstone is back again, because we just got so unlucky in terms of the traffic of Russell there, then the incident with Stroll, and the fact it was going to rain, so we couldn't even improve. And to be fair, we didn't even have a new set of soft tyres to use to improve on that on a potential second run. So all round, pretty horrid day to forget about on Saturday. We're going to start our home race from P10 on the grid, with our teammate Gasly ahead of us on the second row. It's looking good though for Leclerc on pole position. Another pole for the man from Monaco in the Porsche, but again, can he actually convert it to a race win here, as he's got a very quick Giovinazzi right beside him. So let's go to the grid. We're going to have some making up to do.
Great Britain then, one of only 2 countries to have held a Grand Prix in every single year of the Formula One World Championship. And the circuit extends that record further for today's Grand Prix. The 3.6 miles of the Silverstone circuit in Great Britain is hallowed ground to the Formula One faithful. We have 18 corners that wrap around this former World War II airbase, and some good passing opportunities at the end of the DRS zones. Joining me for the Grand Prix once again is Anthony Davidson. Let's discuss Haas. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Charles Leclerc lines up on pole position, edging out Antonio Giovinazzi, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Gasly, Ticktum, Max Verstappen and Russell, Lundgaard, Tsunoda, the owner driver and Lando Norris, Bottas, Ocon, Mick Schumacher and Sainz, Drogovic, Eilert, and Guan Yu Zhou and Lance Stroll. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Hamilton, Aitken, Armstrong, and Nobuharu Matsushita. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Well, there was some rain yesterday on Saturday, but I don't believe there's actually going to be any today. Even though it's very overcast, it's going to get sunnier as we go on through to the end of this race. So that's probably a good thing, though, because rain plus Silverstone probably would make the situation even worse for us starting from P10 on the grid. You know, we know the car has some pace because of where Pierre is. I think more so for me, it was just about I couldn't get that second lap in both Q1 and Q2. It was really crucial for me to get that second lap. I think it was just a case of getting comfortable and finding the limits of the circuit, so we weren't able to do that. In terms of the tyre strategy, it's going to be preference on if you want to try and save a little bit with a medium tyre or just lean on the tyre completely with the hard compound. We've avoided it generally. You know, the hard compound, I don't like going on it, but with how the car has been this season, especially on the rear tyres at some circuits, we may want to consider it, but I guess we'll just see on the fly how the race is looking as we now go to 5 red lights, to a very overcast, typical British Grand Prix. Lights out, we're on the way to slow start for the guys on the right-hand side of the grid. Russell and Yuki Tsunoda, really quick one from Lando Norris, but too quick into his teammate, and we have to make some avoiding action. We narrowly missed the rear end of one of those McLarens, and so we end up in P9, but the McLaren is out then, so it's the worst case scenario. Teammates make contact at turn 1, and Tsunoda comes away fine, but Lando Norris is out of his home Grand Prix early doors. We could have been joining him, to be honest, with how close things were. If I didn't back out of that to turn 1, that could have been quite nasty for us. So Leclerc leads the way then as we go on towards the end of lap 1 from Giovinazzi. So all the same then from the front row. Gasly's lost the position down to P4. We ticked him up to 3rd in the Red Bull Honda. Then you've got Verstappen. Then you've got Lundgaard versus Russell. Russell on the outside making a nice move in the Aston Martin, but the Lotus Renault is still there. But no, the Aston will get ahead just before the brake zone. We're seeing a very punchy George Russell, it would seem, and as I said, very much building on probably the momentum and extra focus he's got from winning the last race at the Red Bull Ring. Meanwhile, entering lap 2, we're trying to size up Yuki Tsunoda. A little bit of a worn control electronics box for us on the bottom right there, so we have to watch out for that. Again, I think it's the second time we've had that this season where no other component apart from the control electronics has been wearing out for us quite a fair bit, and usually that's affected by running over curbs or, you know, just hitting bumps. So I don't know, our car's been maybe riding everything a little bit harsher this season. You know, maybe alludes to why we've found the tyre wear a bit worse this season for some reason. You know, maybe that's linked somehow. I don't know, but we're going to now look to make a move on Tsunoda because I don't want to get stuck behind him for much longer, and we're going to shoot one down the inside just before the chicane left to right. And whilst we do that, you can see up the road a really great scrap going on there as Russell and Verstappen were side by side for that whole section. Russell on the outside of the Dutchman. This is a great scrap between Aston Martin and Ford, and Russell's got it. Meanwhile, we get Christian Lundgaard. Easy work there on the Lotus Renault into P7, so we are making good progress, I would say. We need to, though, get past Verstappen as quickly as we can because there is a sizable gap from Russell to Gasly in this kind of top 4 pack, as it were, because it seems Leclerc is struggling a tiny bit as he seems to be backing Giovinazzi into Tictum's path in the Red Bull Honda. Gio may be looking to break past him, though. We've got an extra DRS zone at this part of the circuit on this season's race, and Giovinazzi's using it to good use. He sent it to the inside, didn't quite get it, though. In the same way, Verstappen tried to get the DRS move done on Russell on the inside of Copse, and instead he's going to get overtaken by us into Magda Beckett, but Verstappen comes back at us. We're side by side through the exit of that section, but ultimately we've got the move. We're now got to try and worry about Verstappen, though, and defend against him because he will have another bite of the cherry, as it were, with DRS open again for the Dutchman. We've also got ours, though, open, of course, because we've got within 1 second of the car ahead, just about that was. But on the run down the hill into the final few corners, we are going to nip ahead and secure P6, but there's so many cars then right behind us, especially right behind Verstappen there. You've got Tsunoda, Lundgaard, Bottas, Schumacher, the two Mercs really fighting hard. And now Drogovic enters the frame 3 wide as the Brazilian tries to make the double overtake. It's great wheel-to-wheel stuff. Drogovic trying the long way round on 2 cars at Luffield. That was never going to work, but it's still at least 1 overtake on Bottas. Remember, Drogovic was P15, knocked out in Q2, so like me, trying to recover and showing his speed. It was just poor bad luck, mismanagement from Red Bull side that saw him be knocked out. He's clearly got some pace in the car, and he's looking to try and jump up the order. Meanwhile, fighting behind Tsunoda versus Verstappen. So actually, Tsunoda's got rid of Lundgaard, and actually now that McLaren's looking pretty racy and looking to spoil the party for Verstappen. Verstappen in P7 on the lowest positions he's been in a race, such as his consistency this season. Meanwhile, back to the top 4 fight. It's still super close between Leclerc, Giovinazzi, Ticktum, and now Gasly. You got to include him in that pack, as the 4 are pretty much in unison here with, you know, equal 1/10 gaps between each other. And as I alluded to, that extra DRS zone you're seeing here towards Copse is really aiding overtaking, maybe, as Giovinazzi's down the inside of the old turn 1 complex, and he's going to have to now go side by side to commit to make the overtake on the Porsche. The 2 will continue to be side by side, and Leclerc ultimately actually has the gusto to defend and maintain his P1. Ticktum now on the back of the Lotus Renault. It may be 3 wide, maybe, for the race lead. Yes, it will! Oh my god! What great racing that is! The DRS pulling them in so well. Giovinazzi and Leclerc now squabbling for position once again. The 2 literally jockeying and rocking back and forth, P1 to P2, and through the last bend, it's going to carry on onto lap 6. Ticktum's back again. Gasly even's in there. This is thrilling stuff. And you know what? They've lost time to each other so much that look in the background, George Russell in the Aston Martin's lurking around, but it is going to be Giovinazzi then, into Village. He actually finally got the move. He started about a lap ago, and he's now into the lead, but he's now fighting Dan Ticktum, of all people, in the Red Bull Honda. This is such a weird name to see at the front of Formula 1, but he's there in the white Red Bull Honda, leading his home race, of course, as Dan Ticktum is British. We've got Giovinazzi in second then, Leclerc, Gasly, and now Russell. This is a top 5 fight now, and I'm really hoping we can make it a top 6 as I'm trying to close up on this gap, as Leclerc is trying to get back his position from Giovinazzi and then try and make a move on the Red Bull. But no, Gio holds his own and maintains P2 for now. But how much longer? Another bite of the cherry of DRS. Meanwhile, Russell is looking to overtake our teammate. So last race's race winner really does have supreme confidence with his Aston Martin right now, and it's looking to get, and he's forced his way into the fight pretty much there, because he was nowhere near this fight, and he's just arrived on the scene and gone, yeah, I'm getting stuck in straight away. And these 2 going side by side through that entire section has meant that whilst I've set a personal best lap time, we have now joined them, and we could try and make this a top 6 fight for the top 6 position. And it may be even more than that, because we've dragged Verstappen with us, because he's had DRS off us, and so he's even right behind me as we have a little look at Russell, such as how slow he is through that left-hander, and ultimately we lose more pace than we actually gained there by trying that move on the outside. I don't really know where Russell was so slow there, but we need to be patient. We've got that extra DRS on the run to Copse now this season, so that's pulling us in, so we can afford to be patient. You can afford to use that DRS zone to reel the car in and then try and set up the move, well, into Magda Beckett's first and foremost, and then the run to Stowe. But at the moment, we're watching ahead of us an absolute scrap and a half between Gasly and Russell. They were side by side through the entirety of Magda Beckett's. They're still going to be side by side as Gasly pulls back through to try and get down the inside, and he will, as Russell has to lift off a tiny bit to give him some space, and we're just here kind of waiting, because I can't really make a move at this point. I don't know where to go. I'm waiting for a gap to open up. We're pretty much now nose to tail with these 2. Russell backs out of it. We have to back out of it and step out to to not hit him, and that invites Verstappen, and we've gone wide at turn 1. Such is the awkwardness of where Verstappen placed his car on the inside, so we've taken to the escape route and come back on circuit. We've not gained a position on that technically, because now we've come back behind Verstappen. We squeeze out Tsunoda as he arrives as well. He's not too far away, and you know what? Drogovic is not too far as well in P9, but up the road, oh, what am I seeing here today? 3 wide between Verstappen, Russell and Gasly now. We've seen, it's only been 9 laps, and we've already seen 2 amazing 3 wide moments between all AI cars. So we're really getting some great racing here today at Silverstone. We're going to push past Gasly, squeeze him right, go to the left, get up into P6, and that move was a little bit personal in terms of finally getting one over him in this race, and hopefully I can try and continue this and actually finish the race ahead of him. It looks like he's losing a bit of pace, to be honest, as now he falls away and is actually now having to defend against Tsunoda, whereas I'm still looking to try and build on this and try and actually finally overtake Russell and maybe re-overtake Verstappen, actually, because, you know, he obviously got us in that whole sequence of corners quite cheekily under the radar. Meanwhile, Tictum pressurising Giovinazzi, but he's down to P3, so he was in the lead, remember, so Leclerc now leads again ahead of the Italian, so he missed that, but the Red Bull did lose out the lead at some point in the last couple of laps whilst we've been doing all this fighting. Lap 10, it's time for the pit stops. Russell, Verstappen, myself are in. Gasly continues on, but I'm looking at my tyre wear there on the bottom right. That is very, very high, so I am going to swap this to the hard compound. And that's not something I usually say in these career modes, but this car's been so tough on its tyres that I think we should just try it out and hopefully just suck up the pain in the first couple of laps to pay dividends right at the end of this race, as others may choose to go on to mediums. As you can see, the Lotus Renault has gone on mediums. The Red Bull, it's a slow stop for us. We're held. It's a 3.1 stop, and we're now behind Tsunoda. So we've gone to the hard tyres, which already may be a bit of a challenge at the first part of this stint, but we've been given a bigger challenge now. We've somehow, I don't know what really happened there. It was a bit of a combination of a slow stop and being held. We're now behind Tsunoda, and we've actually lost just general time in the pit lane because we weren't this far behind Verstappen on the entry there. So this race is really testing us in this second stint then on the harder compound compared to most. We've already lost some time in the pit lane, and we've got it all to do now, but we're just got to get our head down and try and make the most of it. In these first couple of laps, it's about trying to keep up with these guys and just trying to let this hard compound come towards us, because it takes a couple of laps for that sheen of the rubber to wear away, for it starting to grip up a bit compared to the medium. I'm just kind of banking on and hoping that the guys ahead of us, they're all too busy fighting each other on all mediums, that they start kind of giving each other grievances and start wearing out their tyres, and then I can kind of try and come through in the last couple of laps and try and cut through them. That's at least the hope. Let's see if it actually pans out, because I'm not going to lie, everyone's chosen mediums, so I'm very much the odd one out now on the hard compound. Lap 13 for the leaders. Leclerc leads the way then. Still, it's now 1.2 the gap to Dan Ticktum, so he's actually pulled away a little bit. So could that be the crucial break of DRS that the man from Monaco needs, because Ticktum's kind of being pressurized all over the place by Giovinazzi then, and behind Gasly's leading the train ahead of Russell and Drogovic. So that's how much I've lost in that pit stop, by the way, because Gasly was behind us and he went longer on that first set of soft tyres, and he's managed to jump us and come out far ahead in P4 as Russell defends against Drogovic. He's done really well, the Brazilian, though, to be fair to him, to be up here in P6 from that very lowly P15. Verstappen then P7, Tsunoda, and now I have arrived on the scene, because these guys have all been fighting each other so much, like I was alluding to, and it's so far working for me as I'm able to overtake Tsunoda, and I'm finally, you can see on the top right, setting personal best sectors, so I'm finding a bit of a groove on the hards, and it's, you know, I dare I say, not feeling too bad of a race tie, you know. I just need to hope that these guys continue to fight each other, and I can just try and pick them off whilst they're too busy squabbling. It's going to be deja vu for us as we go into Magnus and Beckett steaming in on Verstappen there. I don't know what's happening right now, this race with Verstappen, but into that right-hander, he's just so slow. It's like he's lifting off. I don't know if it's a bit of a weird AI coding bit, but I don't know. He's just so slow there. Meanwhile, ahead, near nearly 3 wide for a moment there as Russell gets the move on Gasly. Drogovic still stuck behind in P6, and now we've closed up and we could join the fight and actually try and re-overtake Gasly at some point in this race, because I still have hopes of finishing ahead of him, but you know, it was made more annoying, frustrating of a job with that whole pit stop debacle. Meanwhile, Tictum still pressurizes Giovinazzi. He's doing very well, Dan Tictum. You got to give it to him. 3/10 behind Gio, and he's still on for a podium, it would seem, with 11 laps to go. But his teammates showing that Red Bull Honda is just performing very well around this circuit. But we're now catching up to said man, Felipe Drogovic. We're P7 at the moment, DRS, and we're going to reel him in and hope that we can catch him and the others at the right time whilst they're too busy looking at each other. Meanwhile, though, what did I say? Tictum doing very well. He's pressurizing Gio, and he's trying to get up into second place. The Italian, the reigning champ, he has to defend quite a fair bit, and the Red Bull Honda may go all the way through on the inside of the final corner onto lap 16. 10 laps to go. Russell now joins the party as Russell looks to get up into P3. It's kind of happened out of nowhere, but those guys have been fighting each other so hard that they've lost time, and Russell, Gasly, myself, Drogovic, we've all joined the party. So this is now, look at this. That camera shot was ridiculous. We've got like 7, 8 cars potentially fighting for up towards P2. It's 3 wide. Drogovic on the inside, Gio sandwiched in the middle with Gasly on the outside as they enter the field. Then Gio is going to be side by side with Gasly. The Red Bull has to step out of it, and we have to step out of it as well, as we narrowly missed the rear end of the Red Bull car. Snap of oversteer for us, and Verstappen now has a good run. We have to go defensive. We've all got DRS off the lead man in this pack, which is Gasly at the moment, and it's that DRS zone is really paying dividends in this race for Action, I must say. Really good addition for this season, as now we see Drogovic going at it with Giovinazzi, and it looks like the Lotus Renault maybe is struggling just a fair bit, because now Giovinazzi's gone from battling for P2 to battling for P6, and you've got Gasly and Russell who've pulled away now, looking pretty comfortable ahead of this fight, and now we could even overtake the Italian. We go for the ballsy move of the outside, but Giovinazzi decides to now re-engage in a fight with Drogovic here. It's very fine through the final corner versus the man we fought so hard for the championship last season. Tiny bit of contact, and we push him out wide, and we're into P6, and now he has to contend with Yuki Tsunoda. So much like the Austrian Grand Prix, it's a strong initial start from Giovinazzi, but this time it's not a car issue. Maybe it's just tyre wear, maybe just the momentum or lack of momentum he's got, but now he's just falling away in this race again, like we saw at the Red Bull Ring, as he squabbles with Tsunoda. You've even got Verstappen now having a little bit of a sniff around as well, but it's a slower race for sure for Gio and Verstappen compared to their usual kind of top 5 antics. And Verstappen looks likely though to maybe make an overtake, pretty much pushing Giovinazzi through Luffield there. DRS open, bit of a wobbly rear end for Leclerc as he, whoa, what a save! What a save from the race leader there, looking all cool. The safety car's out though, the full course safety car's out. We don't know what for exactly. Could it have been that wobble? Surely not. Surely couldn't have been for that wobble, but I mean, what a save though from the race leader. That could have been very, very poor from Leclerc there, but the full course safety car is out. So that is going to be late drama, because we've got, what, like 7 laps left of this race, and this is good news for me, because we're P6, and you can kind of, well, you maybe tell a little bit that the tyre wear is there for all these guys on mediums. They've been fighting each other so bloody hard. I think we've got a good chance to get a podium here. I think we've got the pace over Drogovic and Gasly. We just need to make the moves and hopefully not get caught up in fighting with the cars behind us. It's a slow getaway because, of course, the hard tyres take a while to warm up. But when they do, I think we could be in a prime position. But at the moment, Leclerc leads the way from Russell up into P2. We kind of missed it, but he's made his way up to P2. So it's the same battle maybe right now in the top 2 that it was the case at the Red Bull Ring. Porsche versus Aston, Leclerc versus Russell. But for us, we're diving down the inside of Village to get the move done on Drogovic. And now we set our sights on our teammate for the second time in this race. And hopefully we can actually finally book in finishing ahead of him in this race. We've just got to wait for the right time because we're quicker than him through Village, it would seem. A bit slower on the run to Luffield on the exit, but then into the last part of the circuit, I think we've got the pace and we're closing up through Copse. It was a good exit for us. Now, nice and easy through Magna Beckett. We're losing a bit of time in the first sector with the dirty air, red first sector, but now DRS active here down towards Stowe. He's going to be a sitting duck. We go through on the right-hand side, then back to the racing line, and we're into P4, and I don't think we're going to get badgered by Gasly again this race because he's looking a bit slow, and like I said, as the laps go on, these guys' medium tyres wear and wear more and more, and my hard tyre will look better and better. And we also may just be helped out by the fighting going on right now because Russell's been setting the fast lap of the Grand Prix, chasing down Leclerc, and he'll go for the lunge down the inside from so far back. Oh, what a move this might be for George Russell. It's the same fight at Austria, and could it be the same result? Could it be the Aston Martin coming out on top? Russell is in the form of his life, it would seem right now, side by side with Leclerc, and he's up into P1 of the British Grand Prix. Dan Ticktum coming through though as well to make it a 1-2 for the Brits, and Ticktum's there on the outside. That was the worst camera shot to watch it on, that onboard shoulder camera, but Ticktum was actually out on the outside of him through the second turn. Couldn't quite do it, but he is up into second place. Leclerc, in a flash, has gone from P1 to P3. Now can we make his day worse by pushing him down into P4? DRS aided into the left-hander, banging tyres, but we're going to hold the inside line and carve our way up into P3. Meanwhile, at the same time, Ticktum just made a very similar move for P1. Russell down to P2, but we've got, well, 3 laps left, including the one we're on, and we are into P3, into a podium position for the first time in this entire race, and it looks like our tyre is performing the best, I think. Russell's been quick, he is, but I think we're quicker and we could get him. But Russell goes for the lunge into Copse to try and get first place on lap 25 this is now, into Maggot and Beckett. We're just sitting back and being as patient as we can because let's not be too rash, because we need to time this overtake perfectly, because the DRS, especially with the extra DRS this season, means that if we're in first place on this straight, we may be a sitting duck, so we need to be careful. Russell's made the move for first place, and that's our cue to send one down the inside and catch the Red Bull Honda napping, and we're now into second place, and we've set it all up now for the dramatic last lap. Could we actually do this? It's a 1-2-3 for British drivers right now, but which Brit will top the podium here today at Silverstone? Russell's done so well to get into the lead of this race. Could he make it back-to-back victories from Austria to Britain, or could we get our first race win of the season? We're gaining. We're going to lift off though through Copse, crucially, because we want to be behind Russell as we exit Maggot and Beckett. We could have been a bit hasty, we could have made a dive down the inside, but instead we'll use our head, remain calm, and now for the final time open DRS on this lap. It's a personal best first, second sector, and we charge through, we fly through, and for the first time this whole race we lead the British Grand Prix down into the last couple of corners there, and we're not going to get overtaken. The crowd is going to go wild. It's going to be back-to-back British Grand Prix wins from last season to this one. We've won our home race and won our first race of the season in style. From P9 on the grid. Oh my god. Wow. The hard tyre actually paid off for us, because everyone's tyres were shot. You could tell my hard tyre had so much more grip there. My god.
Well, that might not have been the finest race in history, but there's no question it was a critical win. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
I think the key here was just the quality of the racecraft, you know? I mean, how many overtakes did they make overall? I'm sure we have a stat person keeping score somewhere, and it was fantastic to watch, wasn't it? This is a strategic sport at the end of the day, but it's always really gratifying to see close-fought battles on track. It's what all the fans are after.
Well, what a thrilling end to an incredible Grand Prix weekend. Our top 3 finishers should be incredibly happy with what they were able to achieve out there today.
In this same place, we got our first win last season. We get our first win this season. Silverstone, I think we've broken the curse. Maybe, Saturday's a different story, but Sunday, we won it again. We've only done it and won it. I can't believe it. I actually can't. The hard compound actually worked for us for once and wasn't disgusting and gave us the advantage at the end. But what a podium. It's an all-British podium. That is amazing stuff. Russell, what a charge for him. And just amazing race for Ticton, really, to lead the Red Bull team today ahead of Drogovic in P5. Leclerc pushed down to P4 then from that pole position. Our teammate down in P7. So we not only beat Gasly finally in a race, we beat him thoroughly there, and we take the lead of the Drivers' World Championship by 1 measly point. But it's a 1-2 for our team right now. Verstappen in P3, Leclerc up into P4 after a very quiet ending again for Antonio Giovinazzi. Russell maintains P6, but what a way to take the lead of the championship here at our home race with our first victory. That is absolutely amazing. Red Bull and Aston Martin climb up the order in the standings. Lotus Renault move down along with McLaren. And so as we come through to the halfway point pretty much of this season, it's still all to play for, and it's still as close as it was in the first couple opening rounds, and we've still got half a season to go. But my god, what a race victory, and what a race at our home GP. Guys, if you did enjoy it, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.